Hello and welcome to the Stitch Together podcast. My name is Chrissy, I'm your host. The date is Thursday, the 24th of December 2016, and this is episode 26. Hello, it's good to be back. I bet you've not noticed I've gone because it's been December and you've been running around like a headless chicken trying to get everything sorted before the end of the year. I would just like to take this opportunity to say Merry Christmas to those who celebrate and happy end of the year to everybody else, whether it's your Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate. If you celebrate nothing at all, I hope you're enjoying the peace and quiet of being at home once all the craziness is over. It's, December's always a little bit interesting for me, and it quite often ends up being into January before it stops being interesting. We were supposed to go to see my family last weekend, but my other half has had a stinking cold, so we couldn't go, which I'm kind of disappointed about because we planned it so it was all kind of spread out, and it's not happening that way now. So we are spending Christmas Day here on our own, just the two of us, and to be honest, we don't do an awful lot. We exchange presents, sort of little bits and pieces. Because he's really, really hard to buy for. And I'm sure you all know those people. He is impossible to buy for. And so it's not like mountains and mountains of presents or anything. And he quite often just cooks something just a little bit more interesting and time consuming than he'd normally do during the week. But that's kind of it. We don't have a tree, we don't have decorations, we've got a few cards and that's it. Because most of our friends have understood the fact that we don't send cards. I just don't send cards. I'm not going to apologise. It's just the way it is. Excuse me. As you can see, I've had a little bit of a cold as well. Nowhere near as bad as my other half, but I've had a bit of a cold as well. So I apologise in advance for any croakiness or frogginess that's going on. You probably wouldn't have noticed if I'd not said that. Because quite often I'm watching a podcast and suppose, oh, it's going to be awful. My throat's going to sound dreadful. It's like, nope, didn't notice. It's because it always feels worse than it sounds. Anyway, moving on. I've got a lot to get through today, and I've not actually included everything I wanted to talk about. So we'll see how it goes. First of all, in Stuff and Things, I have to talk about the Esther Bell shawl that Emily of Fibertown podcast donated to give away to a member of the audience. And the person who won that was Jamie Walcott. And she very, very kindly said that as she'd recently won something else from the podcast, she would like the prize to go back in the pot and to be drawn again from the people who entered. So I've done that, and the person who won was Tessero Stitchery. Tessero Stitchery, I think. Anyway, it was number 8, and she included a very fantastic photo of her mother in her 1940s work attire. She looked fantastic. And I can only say how much I enjoyed reading about the sassy ladies in your life and in your lives. It's always nice to know about those heroes that may not have been sung otherwise. So thanks for sharing again. So get in touch with me and I will get in touch with Emily and get her to send you the pattern as soon as possible. So thanks, Jamie, for doing that and letting somebody else have a go at getting a prize. Very kind of you. Secondly, in Stuff and Things, this is kind of a big secondly, I would like to talk about the Self-Indulgent Craft Along, or Sickle, as I like to call it. I decided to do a craft along which starts on the 25th of December, and that is because technically once the dinner's done and the washing up's put away, you want to sit down, put your feet up and cast on something gorgeous for yourselves. That's the theory behind it. And even if you do not celebrate Christmas, that's the day I've chosen because that's the society I grew up in, essentially. My family and my friends celebrate Christmas in a particularly British way. So that's how we do it. So that's why I've chosen the 25th. It will run until the 29th of February because it's a leap year. And I will close the thread, the FO thread, on the 1st of March when I get up because I don't want to have to close it early for people who are way behind on the hours than I am. Certainly, you know, people in Hawaii, it's not fair to shut it down a day early for you guys. So that's the plan. And essentially, I want you to cast on something bright and shiny and new, and that will feel completely decadent and self-indulgent and reward you for all your hard work of the last few weeks. So that's the plan. I have some good prizes too. We've had a couple of donations that we are going to use as prizes. This is such a good Ziploc. This is such a good resealable bag. Look at that. It's just fantastic. I wish we got them in the UK. They're brilliant. Anyway, this bag held another bag. And it is a prize from Knit and Stitch Bits, who is in Australia, and it's got really cute lining, polka dotty lining. I want to get the colour right. Unfortunately, the lighting is shot today because it is chucking it down, and I knew I was not going to get any better light today, so I thought I'd just do it now and get it out of the way because I really wanted to get this up in time for Christmas. Anyway, it's kind of got metallic-y, shiny bits. So it's really pretty. I really like it. It's really well made. I really like her bags. You know, she sent me this when I bought another one recently, and I'll show you the other bag I got from her in Works in Progress. So that's the first prize. The second prize you have seen before. It was donated by Maya at the Wool Barn, and it is alpaca sock grey in the denim colourway, and it's 4-ply fingering weight. It's 70% natural light grey baby alpaca, 20% silk and 10% cashmere, and it's 400 metres or 436 yards for 100 grams. And this is stunning, absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Maya, for that. That's another prize. And last but by no means least, it's from the massive stash of our anonymous donator who donated about a year ago, and there is still one skein left. This is from the Uncommon thread. Oh, the colour is just awful. I do apologise. It's silky merino fingering from the Uncommon thread. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% mulberry silk, 400 metres, 100 grams, and it's in the fern colourway. I thought it said pern, but fern makes much more sense. I'll try and put a photograph in the show notes so you'll see better colours. Might not go in for a couple of days because I'll have to wait until the lighting sorts itself out, because hopefully it's just going to get brighter and brighter now until we hit daily all the time. So those are the prizes. The thread will be opened on December the 25th. I'll be very, very surprised if you manage to post anything on December the 25th, because you should only be starting on the 25th, unless it's the tiniest, weird little self-indulgent craft along I've ever seen. I shall hope that nobody's entering on the 25th. There is a chat thread, so if you want to go in there and say, this is what I'm casting on, isn't it pretty? That would be great to hear about that. And I'll talk about in plotting what I'm intending to do. So that's it for stuff and things. So bear with me because there is a lot to deal with today, and I don't want to just chuck stuff on the floor. I want it to be in plastic first. There's the prizes, and I think you'll agree they're rather lovely. So, done and dusted. There's more here than I thought there was, because some of the stuff I can't show you because they're presents, and I probably never will show them. They're on my project pages if you're interested. The first I've got to show you is the stripy shawl I showed you before it was blocked, and this is it now. It's blocked. As you can see, it's a lot more drapey and uniform, and absolutely love it. It's fantastic. It just wraps right around you and doesn't get in the way. doesn't sort of bunch up or anything. I just love it, really, really love it. And the yarn I used was Posh Yarn Pamela, which is it's a superwash merino nylon stellina blend, and the colours are this beautiful dark green is The Grass is Full of Stars. I never know what, I can't remember the other ones. I'll Get You My Pretty and The Door Just Opened for Someone. Doesn't really matter because these are one of a kind colourways and you're probably not going to be able to get them unless you get them on a D-stash. But I love them. I love this beautiful rich green, and it just worked out so perfectly for me. So I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. I really do love the shape as well. I imagine I will make more of these over the years because it just works perfectly for me, where you do a normal triangle in the middle, and then when you get to here you add in another set of increases, so you get sort of this fabulous shape, goes up like that. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. I wanted to show the difference now it was blocked. The next thing in my big basket o' goodies is a barley hat, and this is a Christmas gift for my oldest nephew, and it's just in Cascade 220, and I can't find the tag for the colour anywhere. I'm usually more organised than that, but yeah, it's just an ordinary barley hat, and I think he'll be pretty pleased with it. I think he's probably got a similar size head to me, and he's 13, so I kind of left it a bit slouchy because, you know, I want to be a cool dude. Can't see him in a beanie hat. So that's one of my other Christmas gifts. The stuff that's going to my family is all wrapped because we're going to see them on Boxing Day, whereas my other half family we're not seeing until January, so that's why that's not wrapped yet. Next up, I have a couple of pairs of socks. The first pair is in Nicole C. Mendez's sock. I think it's Ringle Sockenwolle, and I love this yarn. It's not soft on your hands when you work it. It's not, but it goes fantastic when it's been washed a couple of times. It's really soft. It's kind of my favourite sock yarn, to be honest. And I love how she dyes her stripes. I love that kind of the kettle dyed effect, the semi-solid effect in all of her stripes. I think they're beautiful. She always does one of a kind self-striping, and I really like that. She doesn't keep repeating the same colourways all the time. She changes it up, and if you see something you like, grab it, because it's unlikely it'll be there for long and you won't be able to get it again. And I have to say, she's very reasonable and the service is excellent. So I highly recommend Nicole C. Mendez for her sock yarn and other yarns, but I mainly use her for sock yarn. The second pair of socks I knit isn't that fabulous? It's from Desert Vista Dye Works, and the sock yarn is Viso, and it's the colourway is The Fruits of Summer, and this was a club colourway from the Golden Skein. And the Golden Skein, you choose the club and you get 3 skeins every quarter, and you get them in one packet, and they're all dyed according to an inspiration photo. And I always love at least one of the colourways in each club, and luckily what happens is if at the end of once the club yarns have gone out, if there's anything left over after it's all been announced and it's been given as an option to the people who are in the club to buy a second skein, if they're still not all gone, then they open it up to the public, and that's what this was. This was one of those. And I've only ever had Desert Vista Dye Works yarn before once, but I really loved it. So when I saw this, I snapped it up. And as in with the other one, this is my own vanilla sock pattern that is made tailored to my own feet, my very, very wide, strange toes. It's all made for that. And the Fish Lips Kiss Heel by Socks Therapist, and do some increases at the calf, and then a 1x1 ribbing for a couple of inches. It's very straightforward, and after I've done the weirdly shaped toe, I don't have to think about it or look at anything. It just grows, and I love self-striping sock yarn because the socks just go phew, it grows so quickly. So next up we have another boat trip cowl that I have made. Now I actually made this to go with a dress that I've got, and I'm not wearing the dress so it doesn't really go with the green. Anyway, I'm really pleased with how it came out. It's the first one I've done which is in a kind of solid colour, so you can sort of see it a bit better. And the yarn is Artisano alpaca silk 4-ply, and they had an amazing deal on recently. It was crazy amounts. It was nearly 40% off, I think, 40–50% off. So I actually bought my mum some yarn, which I'll show you later. And got this at the same time for me because I've wanted this colourway for so long. I love it. And I did it on the 3.75mm needles. And as I have a loose gauge, that's kind of the larger size. So you can see a bit better the actual, let me see if I can get it so it doesn't blow out. You can see anyway, you can see a bit better the lace on this, because the other two I did were done in variegated, which is what the cowl was designed for. But I think it looks kind of nice in the solid as well, and it's so warm and soft. I really like this yarn. It's the first time I've worked with it, and it bloomed beautifully. I thought it was going to be a lot more of an open gauge when I knit it, but it's actually quite a full gauge because the alpaca bloomed. Yeah, it's completely washing out the cut. I do apologise for the lighting today. When I have the energy after Christmas, I will try and sort the lighting out. So after that, we have another cowl, and this one I'm really, really happy with. This is Foolproof by Louise Bangham, and it is made with my own handspun from Hilltop Cloud. It is BFL cashmere silk, and I love the way it turned out. It is so soft. This hasn't been blocked. I don't know if I will block it. I'll probably just steam it, just get it opened up a bit. And I love it. It's so nice against my skin. It's absolutely gorgeous, so soft. And I have to say, I think this is probably the best handspun I've ever made. And knitting it, I was very aware of the fact that actually it was very consistent, and I really, really enjoyed knitting it. And I think I'm going to get so much pleasure out of wearing this. Really, really happy with it. It's a great pattern. It's so much fun to do. And it's a bit weird and wonderful the way it's constructed to get all these chevrons and biased stripes and stuff. But I love the way the handspun, that autumnal colour. I love how that's come up. I love it, absolutely love it. So happy with it. Hilltop Cloud, Katie, does amazing work. She really has an amazing eye for colour, and I really love working with her fibre. She's one of the first people I bought fibre from, actually, when I started spindling, and I think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of that. Really pleased with it. And lastly, I have a couple of bits of spinning. First off was fondant fibre, and this is MCN. See if I can, there we go. And I spun it worsted and chain plied it, and oh my goodness, it's soft. It is so soft. I absolutely love it. So pleased with it. And I really do think my spinning has improved significantly this year. It's so much more consistent. And let me tell you about it. It's a heavy worsted. It's nearly an Aran. In fact, it might bloom up to be an Aran, looking at it when it's washed again. and I got 133 meters from 99 grams, and the colorway is Life's a Beach, and it reminds me so much of sea glass. And doesn't it go well with my top? I need to make it to go with my top. Don't know what, but I'm really, really pleased with how that turned out because it is so soft, so pretty. And the second one is also fondant fibre, surprise, surprise. And these are from Rolags, and it was an alpaca camel Shetland silk blend, and the Rolag name were Lena, and I did it long draw. It's a woolen prep, and it's done as a true 3-ply, and it's a heavy fingering light sport, and I think it's probably more likely to be a true sport when it's knit up and it blooms again. And I got 235 meters from 98 grams. And it's so, so pretty. Really, really pleased with how it came out. It's nowhere near as soft as the MCN, but it's not bad. And I think once it's been knit and blocked again and worn a few times, I think it'll be perfectly acceptable to wear next to Skin Soft. Doesn't seem like a lot of spinning, does it? I think it's because I did a lot more knitting, gift knitting in the last few weeks rather than spinning. What else is in the box? Oh, sorry, I knocked you then. You're seeing a lot at the top of my head. I do apologise. It's because I spent ages yesterday getting all the stuff together and deciding what I was going to talk about and what I wasn't going to talk about. So I put it in my big tall basket, and instead of taking it all out and having somewhere to throw it, I've done it the other way around. And that was a mistake that I won't make again. Start with it on the side and then just lob it in the basket rather than rummaging for the basket and lobbing it on the side. So won't do that again. It's a bit too late to stop now though. So, nose to the grindstone. What shall I start with in my big pile of stuff? Oh, I was going to talk first. That was what I was going to talk first about. When I did the foolproof, I had quite a lot of yarn left over, and I mentioned how much I love this handspun. So I decided I had enough to make a sock head hat, provided I striped it. So the sock head hat is by Kelly McClure, and this is my 4th. I really, really like it. It's a great pattern. It's mindless. It's round in circles, and it shows off really nice yarn really well. So obviously my favourite in this is the amazing autumnal colours, and so I decided to do the brim in that because a stronger colour looks better against my skin than having the cream colour sort of around my face. So that's what I decided to do. And once I'd finished the 4 inches of ribbing, I started doing 6 rounds at a time of the colours to stripe it. See if I can show you. There we go. The lighting's not great, but you get the idea. But yeah, I'm still really enjoying knitting with it. There's just something very, very satisfying about knitting with the yarn that you created, and it's plus it's a particularly nice yarn. I'm quite kind of proud of it. So hopefully I'll be able to wear those two together. I think that'll look really good. That's the plan anyway. Put that way back in my bag. I'll carry on with that after I finish talking to you guys. I'm really, really hoping that I've managed to do this early enough, because quite often on Christmas Eve my other half gets to come home early. It's not always guaranteed, and it's always very random, and he usually knows about 10 minutes before they shut the office. Sometimes he comes home at normal time, sometimes he comes home at like 12:30, sometimes he comes home at 4. It's totally random. It really just depends on how the boss is feeling, I think, and what they need to do to get ready before Christmas. So he could walk in which case I'll end up stopping you for a while. That's why I'm rattling. If you didn't realise, I'm rattling through it because I just really want to get this done and out. And I just kind of want to talk to you about this stuff. I've not talked to anybody in ages about my knitting, so it's nice to sort of catch up and have a yak about what's been going on. So obviously with 2 pairs of socks finished, I've got another one on the go, and this time I decided to go for Regia, and I picked this up in John Lewis, and it was it was labelled as Rowan Regia. And I don't know whether Rowan has bought them out or they're just distributing in the UK, but I feel like the yarn is slightly different. It's soft feeling. Has it still got the 10-year? It's still got the 10-year guarantee on it, but it just feels softer for some reason. Anyway, this is the Snowflake colour. Come on, focus. Oh well, you get the idea. And the colourway, as always, is the highly exciting 07709. And I only started it the other day, so I've just got this far on the toe. It's just a really ordinary, bog standard greys, blues. Yeah, greys and blues. And the idea being, let me see if I've got the crease right down the middle of it. It's kind of meant to look a bit Fair Isle-y, I think, a bit snowflakey. But I don't have many pairs of socks which are nice and neutral like that, and sometimes I do want to have more sedate socks on my feet rather than spring ones and summer ones. So they're a bit more sedate, and it's just my bog standard pattern. Next up, what do I want to show you next? Don't want to show you that because I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that or not. But that is the other bag that I've got from Knit and Stitch Bits, and I love it. It's huge. You could fit my cat in it quite easily and zip it up and she'd be well away, because she does like a good project bag. The next thing I wanted to show you was something I'm very, very sad about. Really sad. I've been working quite hard over the last few weeks on the Ashlyn shawl. And it's looking great, isn't it? This amazing kind of Countess Ablaze contrast between the crazy, crazy spring colours and the beautiful dark midnight blue. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? I mean, look how great it looks, and the lace at the bottom is fantastic. And let me show you how much yarn I've got left. It's not going to finish, is it? Got to do all of this. Got that much left. So it's, I don't know if it's a one-of-a-kind colourway or not. I really need to get in touch with Lindsay and see if she does still dye it or not. She doesn't do custom orders, so I'll kind of just have to wait for it to come up again. The only thing I can see as an alternative is ripping the bottom off and finishing it off in this, which is a Kirsten sock from Posh Yarns, Sleep on My Wrongs, and that is 100% Superwash Merino. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. It's a lot darker, so that's why I can't finish it off in it. So I'm either going to have to rip it back and finish the whole bottom in this colour, or rip it back and alternate. I don't know. The other option is I have a remnant of a square from my sock yarn blanket, and that's kind of closer, but not much. It's a bit more purplier, so I don't think it's enough anyway, so I'm just really sad. I had a look on Ravelry and I couldn't see anyone who had it in a stash, let alone available for destash, because the colour is When Daylight Dies, and it's on Count Cashmerino High Twist, which is an MCN. But it's so pretty, but I just didn't want to rip it all out and start again, so that's why it's been sat in a bag. I may bring myself to try again, but I'm just really, really sad about it, because I really enjoyed it and I was so close to the end, and then I realised it just wasn't going to happen. But I'm really pleased. An inveterate dislike of Julia is the other colour, and that's on Lady Persephone sock. Again, a Countess Blaze, and that's a one of a kind from the Caesar range, I think. Let me see if I can find it. Where's my label? It's 75% BFL and 25% nylon is the Lady Persephone sock. And I really do like it. It feels really silky in your hands. It's really nice. The plies are very small and tightly twisted and then softly plied together. So it's got that lovely slick feel to it. So I have no clue what I'm going to do about that. I really have wanted the shawl for a very long time. So I will finish it somehow. I don't know if it will mean that those two yarns will be ripped back and used in something else, or whether I'll just rip back the border and reknit it or what. I don't know, but it's made me really, really sad. But that's what happens in knitting. If you don't look at the yardage on your yarn properly. Oops. Oops. Such is life when you're not really got your head in the game. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to show you for works in progress, again, I do apologise for you looking at my ear hole, is, oops, I really should prepare better. Like I say, I wanted to get this done. This is Hobbledehoy Merino Tencel in the Lagoon colourway, and I really ought to get on with plying this because it is so lovely. These are the two singles, and I enjoyed spinning it so much. It's absolutely gorgeous. There we go. Absolutely fantastic. I love Merino Tencel. So much fun to spin it. And I spun that on my new toy, which I'll show you in Splashed Out. Oops. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that. It's just a straightforward 2-ply, and I'm trying to do a nice high twist 2-ply because I spun it quite loosely. So I wanted to do a high twist to make it sort of plump up when it was twisted quite firmly. And that is on a Spanish Peacock Tibetan spindle. I absolutely love his Tibetan spindles. They're fantastic. I've got 2 now, and they're pretty much the same weight, and that's what I did. I spun 1 set of singles on this one and 1 set of singles on that one, and they are virtually identical, which means I don't sort of change slightly as I'm going. So yeah, I'm not doing much spinning. Hopefully once I get the last couple of presents done for my half family, I'll be able to get back to the spinning because I've missed it a lot actually. Next up, I want to talk about plotting because I wanted to talk to you about what I want to do for my SICAL. I'm going to use hashtag STSICAL 2015 for that if you want to use it on social media and in your projects. Then you can have a look and see what everyone else is doing. Now this is also one of my absolute favourite spins. It is John Arbon, and it is, let me think, it is 40% alpaca, 40% merino, 20% silk. And John Arbon is a mill, I think it's down in Devon. And I got the fibre at Fibre East in 2014. And it was just so nice to spin. And I've got 740 metres of a heavy sock weight. And because I spun 200 odd grams of it. And it is so soft and smooth and silky. And I've wanted to knit something with this since I finished it, because it is one of my best spins, and I think it will be an amazing neutral coloured decadent shawl. So that was my plan. So I went online yesterday and had a look for some patterns, and I came up with a couple that I think I could use. The first one is by Melanie Berg, and it's called Wintermute, because what I want to do is I want to use stocking stitch for the main body of the shawl, because I think the sheen of the silk and the merino will really play up if it's done in stocking stitch, and I think it might reduce some of the pilling rather than doing it in garter stitch. So this is, oh, one day I will get this right, Wintermute by Melanie Berg, and it's, let's see if I can get a better picture. Anyway, it's got stocking stitch, and for the main body it's a nice crescent shape, which is one of my favourite shapes for shawls, and at the bottom it's got an applied border which is cables. I think that's a better way of seeing it. Oh, she'll teach me not to try it before I film it. Anyway, it's nice, I like it, but I think the one I'm going to go for, after having had such a poor experience of applied borders with the Ashlands shawl, I'm going to try Eye Blink by Heidi Allender, and this is a long shallow crescent shawl with stocking stitch centre and just a very simple lace pattern at the bottom, and that lace pattern is very familiar to me because it's actually in a section of the Lily Slice of Pie shawl, which was one of the shawls that I'm most proud of, that I've probably sold the most copies of actually, and one of the panels is that exact same stitch. So this shawl was designed so you could just keep going till you ran out of yarn. Once you've got that central panel, once you start the lace bit, you just keep going, and it's a free pattern, so I'm thinking that could work really well. So that will be my self-indulgent craft along, because it was self-indulgent to spin it and it'll be self-indulgent to knit it, and I think I'll really enjoy wearing the shawl as well, because these elongated crescents are really the most easy to style shawls, I find. So that's what I want to do. The other thing I wanted to talk about in plotting was, this is my giant Luli bag. I do love it. It's enormous. What I wanted to do is show you the yarn I got for my mum's Hitofude cardi. And this is Artisano Alpaca Silk 4-ply in the Lily Pad colourway, and it's gorgeous, and that's the same yarn as this. So you can see how it's, come on, focus. You can see what it's like in the skein, in the ball, and it just blooms up fantastically. It really surprised me how much it bloomed up actually, because it feels kind of skinny until you wash it and then it goes poof. Anyway, I bought enough of this to make Mum a Hitofude because she saw mine and fell in love with it. So it's her birthday present. And as her birthday is in January, she's not getting it in time. She is, however, going to see the yarn, because we discussed it quite a lot before I actually went ahead and bought it. Because obviously it can be quite expensive to get 3 or 4 skeins of sock weight yarn. So you end up with like 300-400 grams. It can be costly if you're doing it in some yarns, especially the indie dyed stuff. But I think this colour will work for her, and a solid it'll work, because my mum's got quite different colouring to me. She's brown hair, brown eyes, and she's got a different complexion as well. So those are my 2 things that I'm focusing in the coming month on, I think. as well as the other stuff that I've got kind of in the background. But those are the two big things that I'm going to be working on over the next month or so. So where are we now? We are now going to talk about crafting library, because I got sent a fantastic little collection of patterns by Katja Frankel. And Katja Frankel, let me see if I can find it. Oh, don't do this. This is what happens when you think you've prepared and you haven't. I do apologise for me not getting my act together. This is actually what happens when you do all your notes and stuff the day before you actually record. You think you've got everything sorted, and you have, because it's all in your notes, but you've not got it pulled up. And I do apologise for that. Anyway, this really fantastic collection by Katja Frankel is called Autumn Essentials 2015 Flatland, and it's got 3 patterns in it. It's just a small collection, and it has, come on, it's got a pair of fingerless mitts, which is called Tangent. And it's just a really straightforward pair of fingerless mitts. It's got a kind of interesting thumb gusset detail, and that's in, what yarn is that in? That's a sport weight. The other one is called Tesseract, and that is a bulky weight cowl, and that's got an interesting effect because it's all just been done with knits and pearls. I am so sorry, Katja, that I've made this such a blinking mess. It's so long since I've done any kind of review that I'm useless, absolutely useless at it, and I apologise profusely. Sorry, Katja. But I really wanted to talk. I don't do reviews very often, as you know, but I've always had a very soft spot for Katja Frankel stuff. She does a lot of really good kids stuff, especially for young boys, and it's quite hard to find really interesting boys patterns. And as I have 4 nephews now, I had to think that for a second. For so long I only had 2, and now I have 4. This is a bulky weight cowl, and it's got this interesting sort of knits and pearls texture to it, sort of making squares which are kind of divided diagonally, and it's just a really interesting, I think it'd be a really fun knit. It's I think it's cast on in the round, the long way, and then sort of, so you've got the big loop cast on, and then you just knit a short amount that way and then cast off again. And that's an interesting one. But the one that is my favourite without doubt, and I know I'm going to knit this very soon, is Vector, which is a fantastic hat. I just love it. I always love hats with pom-poms. And there we go. Again, it's just all done through knits and pearls to make this really cute little texture. That's a nice slouchy pom-pommy hat. And that is knit in worsted weight, and I've got loads of worsted weight. I've got quite a lot of worsted weight handspun as well, so maybe I'll do it out of handspun. So I think it'd be really cute, and it's a really nice little collection. I think it's well worth the £5.25 for those 3 patterns. The individual ones are £3.50, but I think getting the £5.25, I think you'll probably use at least 2 of the patterns. I know I will. I'll definitely be doing the hat, and I'll definitely be doing the fingerless mitts, because I have a few bits of sport weight in my hand spun that I don't know what to do with, and it's a nice, quite straightforward, plain fingerless mitts pattern, which will really show off hand spun really nicely. So that is Autumn Essentials 2015 Flatland by Katja Frankel, and the link is in the show notes. So if you want to go and have a look at the pictures in more detail, better than me showing you them on my shiny iPad, I do apologise. Go and have a look, because I think they're really nice little patterns, and I think you find them very useful. And I do apologise for not talking about them sooner, because they would have made perfect Christmas gift knitting. You would have been able to race through them. So maybe you want to get started on next year. You can treat yourself, buy the little collection and get a head start with all your Christmas knitting for 2016, and then you won't be stressed in December. It'll be great. So thank you, Katja, for letting me have that, and thank you for Louise of Knit British, who got in touch with me to see if I fancied having a look at those. So I hope you go and have a look at them too, because I think they're good. They're good patterns. So that was a very quick blast through crafting library, which I've not done for a while, and I do want to get back to doing that. Splashed out. Now this section could have been huge. I have cut back significantly what I need to talk about, because I've got all my Black Friday stuff, and if you watched this time last year, you'll know that Black Friday for me, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and I think it's Online Monday, I use that opportunity to get yarn and things like that from the US or Canada that I can't normally get in under the customs limit. So quite often, even with just a 10% discount, it brings things down under the customs limit that I wouldn't normally be able to get hold of. So I've got quite a few bits and pieces that I got in with those purchases, and I'm going to talk about those in the next episode, because I won't be buying much in the next month. At least I hope it won't be. I don't intend to, but you know me, I get tempted. The only thing I am going to show you that I got was this fantastic spindle. Now let me see if I can show you this off to its. Come on, there we go. Now this is from Aaron Makes Stuff, and I've always loved his spindles, but this one is one that I wanted to get since I first saw it. It is done with an aluminium sort of frame, and then acrylic is poured in through that frame, and then it is turned, and it is stunning, and it's Red Heart wooden shaft. It spins so well. I was really worried about it, because I know a lot of people have had the drop spindles, and I know a lot of podcasters have the drop spindles, especially the coloured pencil ones, and they've all loved them. However, a drop spindle is not a support spindle, and just because you're good at making drop spindles does not mean you're good at making support spindles. And I was loath to spend a crap ton of money on getting something imported and paying the customs charges and the tax and all the rest of it on something I wasn't absolutely positive was going to spin. Because I have a lot of spindles, I don't need any new spindles, I just want new spindles. Anyways, I saw one of my friends on Instagram had got one of his support spindles and really loved it. And that for me meant that I was keeping an eye out for precisely one of these beautiful aluminium acrylic versions. As you can, I don't know if you can see that properly, but the bottom half has got a very similar colour to the acrylic as the Red Heart, and the top half is clear. I just think it's really pretty how it's been done. Really beautiful. It's art. And once I'd seen someone really liked, I kind of kept an eye out for the right one, and also when I had money in my savings account. And then he did a Small Business Saturday, amazing discount, 30% off. is a whopping great sum. And though it didn't bring me down under the customs charge, I just thought I am never going to get this opportunity again, because that discount pays for the customs charges and the tax and a big chunk of the postage too. It would be the equivalent of buying the spindle in the UK. And I just thought I'm never going to get that opportunity again. And when I saw he had 3 of these, I just went, having that. And it has left me broke, and I don't care. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't picked up by customs. I was absolutely flabbergasted it didn't get pulled up by customs. I think that's happened to me twice. So I didn't have to pay it. So it was like a really, really good deal, because I didn't have to pay that extra chunk of money, because that adds up, that customs charge and the tax itself. So I spun the singles of the Merino Tencel on that, and I loved it. It weighs 19 grams and it's 10¼ inches, which is a lot shorter than I normally like. I like things to be over 11 inches, but it's such a fast little spin. I didn't care. It just zoomed. It's got fantastic speed to it. So I can heartily recommend. Aaron Makes Stuff does good support spindles, and it's beautiful too. So that's the one I really wanted to show you, because I had been spinning on it. The reason I'm using the Tibetan spindles to ply it on is because they're heavier, which means they spin more slowly, and when you're plying, you don't want it to get it messed up by going too fast. And also because it's got a longer shaft, you can get more on it, and they're heavier, which means you can spin it when you've got more on the cop. You can spin for longer, essentially. Aaron Makes Stuff. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful spindle. The other stuff I've got is a bit of a mixed bag. The first thing I got was fondant fibre, because I'd spun a couple of fondant fibre things up. So I needed to replenish my stocks, because I love fondant fibre. The first thing I got was some Falkland combed top, and this is in the Ginkgo colourway. And actually that's a pretty good representation of the colourway. It's really beautiful. And I haven't spun any Falkland in ages, and I do like it because it's got quite a lot of Polwarth. Falkland is not a breed, it is a location. It is the fleece comes from the Falkland Islands, which means a lot of the sheep on the Falkland Islands are Polwarth, Merino. There's some other bits and pieces that they have, and it all gets kind of shoved into one to be Falkland. And it means it's soft, but it's not ridiculously soft. It's got bite, it's got bounce, and it's a bit more sturdy than Merino. And I like Falkland, so that is Ginkgo, and I really liked it, and I fell in love with that. And then because I've used up all my Rolags and my box has fallen up, my wrapping's fallen apart, so I'll just grab a handful. These Rolags from Fondant Fibre, oh, stunning. Look at those. I think they might actually go with, would go quite well actually. Absolutely love them. And that is made up of merino, Shetland and silk. So it's soft, it's silky, but it's got bounce to it because it's sturdier because it's got the Shetland in there. So I think they're going to spin up beautifully. I honestly, I don't know how Deb does it for the money, because her Rolags are incredibly reasonable. The price she charges, I really don't know how she does it. I really don't, because they're not quick to make. You know, it's not like just dyeing some fibre. It's, you know, it's quite a physical task. So it's time consuming as well as the materials. So I don't know how she does it. You probably need to charge more, Deb. I shouldn't be saying that, because the reason you charge means I can buy quite a lot of your stuff if it's a reasonable price. But I have to say, it is hard work, and I greatly appreciate the fact that you charge a very low rate. So that was the first thing I've got to show you. Second thing, it's more fibre. And this is rather special. This is something I've wanted to get my hands on for a very long time. And this is Pigeon Roof Studios. And this is from the Glow range. Now, if you have looked at Pigeon Roof Studios, her Glow range is this amazing range of fibre and yarn that she dyes, which is basically, it's layer upon layer upon layer to get this amazing multi-dimensional effect from her colour. I mean, it's just stunning. And her Glow fibre tends to be on the pricey side because it uses a lot of resources, it uses a lot of dye, it uses a lot of time and effort, and she's been so careful, so the prep is still great despite it being dyed several times. And I couldn't believe it when I saw the price this for this BFL silk actually came in under the customs charge, and I honestly don't know if it was a mistake. I really don't, because normally it's a lot more expensive for her Glow stuff. And this is in the verdigris colourway, and it's 4 ounces, and it is stunning. It is absolutely everything you see in the photos. If you go and have a look at Pigeon Roof Studios and look at her Glow fibre or yarn, those pictures are pretty damn accurate, and I just could not be happier with this. I can't wait to spin it. It's stunning, absolutely stunning. So I really wanted to show you that. And lastly, about a month ago, my friend Deb came to see me. She came all the way up to spend the day with me after and I sort of thought, it's an awful long way for her to come up for the day. It's so nice for her to do it. And then I remembered that she'd been to Maine to see her knitting friends for a knitting retreat at Highlands on the Fly, which is what I'm going to show you. And I thought, that's not as far to come see me. She can do it there and back in a day. It's not so easy to do that to Maine. And she brought me a couple of presents back from Maine, and they're rather special, which is why I'm going to share them. I'm not sort of showing off, look at the lovely stuff that I get as a podcaster. I'm doing it because my friend brought me these things back to show me, and I wanted to share them because they're really quite special, because they came from Maine and they're very local. First off, I'm going to show you isn't actually from Deb, it's from Sarah of the Fibre Trek podcast. And she wanted me to have this 100% Romney wool bat. It's just an ounce, and it's from Bybrook Farm, which is a local farm in Maine. And this Romney is unbelievably soft. Absolutely stunning. It's a bit more grey than it's coming up on there. It's very much a neutral grey brown. It's so soft. It's just beautiful, and thank you so much, Sarah, for thinking of me. And I really want to spin it, but I don't want to ruin it either, because it's absolutely beautiful fibre, and it's so nice of Deb to bring it back and it not to be compacted in her suitcase. So thank you for doing that, Deb. And the other two things she bought me, this is Navajo churro, which I've never felt before, and it came from Woolweb Farm, and I don't know what weight it is, nothing. I just know it's Navajo churro, and I think it's probably just worsted weight. I was really surprised. I expected Navajo churro to be kind of rope-like, because that's the impression I got, that it was quite a coarse fibre. But I think it's probably quite a long fibre. I've not looked it up. I should do, actually. I will look it up, because there's not many ends to prickle you. So I'm thinking it's probably it's spun quite loosely, which I think helps avoid the rope tendencies. And there aren't many ends sticking out. So I don't know how much I've got. I don't know what weight it is, so I'll need to do some weighing and measuring, and maybe swatching. But I think these would make great mitts, because I think they'd be very, very hard wearing. But I was really surprised that it didn't have higher prickle factor, and I think it'll be really interesting to see how they knit up. So that's from Woolweb Farm. Let's see if I can. And I've put a link in the show notes. I think they've got a Facebook page. I think they sort of sell mainly locally stuff. And this I absolutely love. This is from Starcroft Mill. And if you watch Sarah Fibre Trek, you'll have heard of Starcroft. And this is Nash Island Light in the lobster bake colourway. Isn't that incredible? That's pretty close to the colour. And it's so nice. I love it. It's so bouncy. Because Sarah's talked about this quite a lot on her podcast, and I think she did a Fibre Trek film at Starcroft as well. And this is Nash Island sheep, are feral sheep, and they live on an island and they look after themselves, and then they're brought in to be sheared like once a year kind of thing. And again, I'm really surprised at how soft it feels. I really was expecting it to be much more coarse. It's got, don't get me wrong, it's got real crunch and bite to it, but it's not prickly. And that to me is the most important thing. I don't want it to prickle me. And I don't think this will. I think it's make a great hat, actually. A great hat or fantastic mittens. I do need some orange mittens because I think that could work, don't you? That's what it needs to be. It needs to be mittens to go with my fantastic cowl and hat combo. Because I have an orange bag that I use mostly for daily wear as an orange bag. But isn't it fantastic? The colour's not right there, but you can see what the yarn looks for, and that's the worsted weight. Or is it the Aran? Can't remember. I think it's the worsted weight. So thank you so much, Deb, for bringing me those really interesting yarns back, because I think it's going to be very educational to knit with them, and this is such a fantastic colour. I think it'll be really interesting to see how it works up and how long fibre lasts, because it might be tempting to invest in some more because it's very interesting and I do recommend it. So there are links in the show notes to those places. So I just thought it'd be interesting to share it, because I know these small independent farms and mills, it's hard to trust what you're going to get online, because you're not squishing it, you're not feeling it. And I think it's always interesting to get multiple points of view, because what I think is not prickly, someone else might think is. So I think it's just interesting to get multiple points of view on that sort of thing. So that's why I talked about it. And I think that's it for Splashed Out, what I'm going to share for Splashed Out, because we are trekking on a bit. The last thing, I had one of my online friends, Lara Smoot, got in touch with me recently about a recently launched pattern. It's not a new pattern because it was in the Miss Babs Knitting Tour Club until just this month. It was released to the general public this month, and it's called Journey to Atlantis, and it's done in about 500 meters of a DK worsted weight. I think it was done in Miss Babs Yowza. And this shawl is rather lovely. It's an elongated crescent, and it's garter stitch in the side panels, and then it's lace in the centre panels. And you can probably see there that it really sort of has this beautiful kind of ripple effect in the lace panel in the centre. So it gives this really interesting, and it's the lace is in stock, it's a stocking stitch lace panel, so it has a nice contrast between that and the garter stitch, which means it works really well for variegated. And let me just close that up so I can tell you the price. It is $4.20 US dollars, which is about £5 UK. And she has very kindly offered to give one of you lucky people a copy. So if you would like a copy of Journey to Atlantis and you're not prepared, you haven't got the cash right now to buy it, you can enter by going to the thread that's open on the Ravelry group and suggest a good yarn to use for this really interesting pattern with the contrast between the garter stitch and the lace in the stocking stitch lace. I think it would take quite a distinct, certain kind of yarn to really show it off and enhance it. And so go and tell me what that is, and I will close the thread just before I record episode 27. So you have at least a week, probably a month. I'm just saying, it's going to be a while. I have lots of family stuff coming up. So get in there, have a look, and if you're not prepared to wait, go and buy a copy. It's a really nice pattern. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to everyone who bought the boat trip cowl pattern since it was launched after the last episode. It's been lovely seeing what people have been doing with the pattern, and there's already been quite a few photos posted of completed cowls, and I've had lots of really nice feedback, and I'm so glad I finally got around to releasing it. And that's why I write them up, is because I like seeing what other people make with my pattern. I don't do it to make money, though the money is nice and it kind of bought my spindle. So I am grateful to that. But it's more so people can have a chance of making something that's come from my head and seeing what they do with it. So it's been lovely seeing the different yarns that have been used and the final projects on the project pages. So thank you so much for the interest, and also thank you to the podcasters who've mentioned the pattern on their podcasts. It just made my heart melt a bit when I saw what people were saying about it. And I'm not going to go into details and all the rest of it. I just want you to know, if you mentioned it on your podcast, thank you. It meant a lot to me that you talked about the pattern. I didn't gift you patterns because I wanted you to talk about it. I gifted them because I thought you might want to knit them. And you know, you're all people who've been kind to me, so I wanted to share back. So thank you. And also thank you to everyone who bought it. So on that note, it's probably it is the last episode of 2015, and it's been a heck of a year, and my health hasn't been great, and I haven't been out of the house very much, and you guys have kept me sane. So thank you so much for spending your time with me, as always. Thank you for reaching out to me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, especially on Ravelry, and saying hi and telling me who you are and what you're up to and chatting in the group. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me to have a community of like-minded individuals who join me on a regular basis. It makes me feel not isolated in the slightest anymore, and that's all down to you guys, so thank you. So I hope you enjoy whatever you have celebrated or are celebrating at this time of year, whether it's Hanukkah, Yule, Christmas, Kwanzaa, all the other celebrations, and the coming of the new year. Enjoy yourselves, have lots of fun, keep safe, don't cry if your hand knits don't get well received. It's always a risk, let's put it that way. So I hope you have fun spending time with your loved ones, whoever they may be. Or if you are like me and my other half, we just chill out and do nothing and don't see anyone else, I hope you enjoy that too. And I will see you in 2016. Bye.